I was gonna just talk about some code stuff, but I'm not really prepared, and my mind is in this hateful place, and I don't know what to do.
You didn't take drama in high school, did you?
I didn't. You
No.
can tell, right?
Me neither. Yeah. No.
Please, sir, may I have some more? No? No. Can we just be done?
Because it's just with just a fucking intro.
That's it. That's it. All right. So let's talk about some National Electric Code. All right. So Chapter 3. Marcus, Chapter 3.
Wiring methods and materials?
Correct. So each article in Chapter 3 tells us how things are supposed to be installed, or what their requirements are around certain pieces of material. So you talk about like wiring methods, you talk about underground depths, overhead clearances, right? You talk about all those things. And then also later on, let's talk about what do we use, like what's one of the most common things we use?
Probably EMT.
Right. So for me, I say a bender is the tool of an electrician.
Right.
Residential guys don't do a lot of bending.
Yeah,
right. They don't really have a bender. So that used to be the argument that I held in my mind. Well, we're electricians. You know, the commercial guys that could do three-fit, like could do it all. Like we're electricians. If you don't have a bender, you're not an electrician.
Yeah.
When was the last time you bent?
The commercial guys can do residential electrical, but the residential electricians can't necessarily do commercial electrical.
Right. Typically.
Sometimes.
But then sometimes you get some, like we've got some commercial guys come over and want to do some residential wiring, and they're like, you give them a set of plans and they go, well, there's no circuits on this. There's no engineering for the electrical.
Right.
Well, it's because the National Electric Code has a whole section on how to wire a house, like what the requirements are for a receptacle, how far away, or where do you need a receptacle?
Yep.
How far away should the next one be?
And then you just have to do it per those specs.
Correct.
Right?
The whole thing just get built upon that spec. EMT, electrical metal tubing. Article, Marcus?
359?
359, 358, 359. Electrical non-metallic tube. 358.
Oh.
Boop, boop, boop.
Close.
Kayla will try to put some pictures up, you know. So it's really this page here. So it's this it's almost a full page and a half for just electrical metal tubing, EMT.
Yep.
So it talks about the definition, what it is, what it's used for, corrosive environments. It tells you the cinder fill, the wet locations. It says all supports, bolts, straps, screws, and fourth shall be corrosion resistant material, right? So like these are the things it tells us based on this EMT. So let's go through a couple of these things. So let's talk about so some people go, where can I not use EMT? Okay, well, let's go right to the code book. 358.12. Use is not permitted. EMT shall not be used under the following conditions. Where subject to severe physical damage. What would be example?
In your driveway?
Right?
I don't know.
Right?
What's severe? What's
anywhere,
like, something...
like maybe a parking lot pole base coming out of the ground where somebody might hit it with their car, right?
Even that.
Going across the driveway on the floor, like anywhere exposed that a vehicle's traveling, or
some kind of machinery or something could possibly hit it.
So there's always room for discussion as far as like interpretation. But for us, I know that anytime you talk about like a parking structure coming out of the ground with something, has to be rigid. Because that's where a potential severe damage can happen. Number 2, for the support of luminaries and or other equipment except conduit bodies no larger than the largest trade side of the tubing.
Can't hang a light from it.
Can't hang anything from it.
Right. And
we see this all the time.
Yeah.
Where they've got their little swivel bracket where it's like the cover, the 4-square cover with the fixture swivel in there. They've got conduit coming down and then it's like attached to a fixture.
Yeah.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
It says right there. For luminaries.
For luminaries.
And other equipment. But is it holding the box? And then the box holds equipment? We see it all the time though. Why doesn't this ever get called out?
The box is the other equipment then.
Why doesn't it ever get called out? OSHA.
I feel like maybe they're running rigid in those cases. I've seen it with EMT before.
Oh yeah. You're right. But most of the time it should be rigid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I saw EMT holding up exit signs at one of these self-storage places, and they were all like twisted. They're just holding it up and then MC between. Like it was fucking weird.
Shit. Yeah, some of the shit people do.
Conduit body. So you're talking about like an LB, and then it just has to be appropriate for the size. So like that conduit body can be floated, right? It can be holding. EMT can be holding on it depending on where it's at.
Yeah, it's still got to be.
No matter what, go ahead.
Well, it's still got to be strapped within 3 feet.
Right. So no matter where you're doing it, you have to follow the strapping. So like you think about securing and supporting. So EMT shall be installed and as a complete system in accordance with 300.18 and shall be securely fastened. It's
because Kayla's back there and they're fashionable.
Fastened. That's fucking weird. I don't know what's going on with my brain. She is fashionable today. Securely fastened in place. Shakira. And supported in accordance with 358.30 A and B. So like, that's what we're listening to right now. So securely fastened. EMT shall be securely fastened in place at intervals not to exceed blank.
10 feet.
10 feet, 3 meters. Okay. In addition, each EMT run between termination points shall be securely fastened within blank.
1 meter. 3 feet?
3 feet.
3 feet.
Yeah, 3 feet, 900 millimeters, right? So what that means is when you talk about between termination points, so talk about termination points.
So you're talking about like that, like a box.
Yep.
If you're going to throw a junction box, or if you were going to come out of a panel of some kind or something like that, you need to have it strapped within 3 feet of that termination point where the EMT ends pretty much.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or a coupling.
Right?
Yeah. So you think, so if I've got let's say a box here, I've got a connector, I've got a piece of EMT, it's 10 feet. So within 3 feet of the box, I got to have a strap. But then that conduit's like, you got to have a strap within 3 feet of that.
Yeah. EMT comes in 10-foot lengths though, right? So if you start that way within the 3 feet of the coupling, it'll just continuously be within 3 feet of
the coupling. I got my box, I got a coupling. I'm sorry, I got my box, a connector, I got a strap within 3 feet, and then I got my coupling to go to the next one. I got a strap within 3 feet of there. Usually I like to put them just right there, like a foot away. Yeah. Now I can put my other piece, and I don't have to do another strap until I get to the 10-foot mark. Unless I made a transition to something else.
How many times have you seen a piece of EMT like on the outside of a building and they throw that they get the 10 feet, right? But they're just throwing one strap in the middle of that piece of EMT.
And the whole thing goes like this.
At every coupling. Yeah.
All the way down the wall.
Like, that's going to pinch one.
And they're strapped with the strap like down. Yeah. So like over time.
It's ready for it to come out.
Yeah. Let's see, supports horizontal runs of EMT. Supported by openings through framing members. See, now those are like going through the framing members. So like even then it's 10 feet. So supported by openings through framing members at intervals not greater than 10 feet shall be secure and securely fastened within 3 feet of terminal point. So you're talking about junction box, 3 feet of that, and then up through another 10 feet. Like there's really just, that's the rule, right? 3 feet from a box and 3 feet from a connector. It's typically what we say. 3 feet from a connector, because that connector can go into a box, a panel, an LB, a fixture, anything. And then 10 feet from there. So that's the rule of thumb. Doesn't matter what size of EMT you're dealing with. If it's EMT, it's right here in Article 358. Let's see. Couplings and connectors used with EMT shall be made up tight, right? So where buried in masonry or concrete, they shall be concrete type. Where installed in wet locations, they shall comply with 314.15. So I've never ran EMT in concrete. What he's talking about there is the connector itself. We don't put EMT in concrete. You talk about the connector. So a lot of times we'll do PVC, and then you do a rigid coupling.
Yep.
And then you switch to either a rigid or an EMT out of the ground. But depending on the location, if there's possibility for damage, it has to be something different.
Do rigid,
Right.
Yeah.
So we do a rigid coupling just to come out of the ground so that the plastic doesn't break and you can get to it.
Yep.
We don't put EMT in the ground. But I'll take a rigid coupling and then go to EMT depending on where the location is, like a warehouse or something.
Somewhere that doesn't need to be overly protected.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the bender. So how many bends are you allowed? Is there a maximum number? Now, thinking about my plumber friends, right? Like I did some, this is way too long, isn't it? Yeah, we're going to just keep talking. It's way too long. I did some irrigation work in my backyard. Man, plumbers got it easy.
Yeah.
Like, fucking,
yeah,
there's a line over here. I teed off of that, and then I went with a fucking, a four-way split where I got one in, two out the side, one continued, and then I did another four-way, and then I got a 90, and then back-to-back 90, and another back-to-back 90. I got 40 fucking 90s in this line everywhere, and they're all stub 90s. They're not sweeps, right?
Right.
And water runs through it.
Yeah.
Can we do the same in electrical?
We cannot do the same in electrical.
Why not?
I know.
Like if I pull real hard, I can get it through there. Or what if I take the 90s and like put my wire through and build it as I go?
Oh yeah.
Because it's just for.
Right. You could get it in there, but no.
Well, why do they limit? Like, why do they have sweep 90s? Is it just to make it easier to pull through? Because I can build it with a wire in it.
It definitely helps make it easier to pull through. That's 100%. But yeah, we have 360 degrees. And that's all bends. All bends. If you got a 90 here, a 90 here, and a 90 here, and then you had to do a couple 45s to offset, that's it. You're done.
Or a box offset. Not even a 45, but just a box offset. So your box offset is 10 degrees, like 10, 10, right? Mm-hmm. So you're pretty much limited to 2 box offsets and 3 90s.
Yep. And then you got to put a box.
And then it has to be a junction box so that we can pull. So like, let's talk about bends. The number in one run. There should not be more than the equivalent of 4 quarter bends, 360 degrees total, between pole points, for example, conduit bodies and boxes. Let's talk about bends, how they're made. Maybe we'll do another one on bending, like we'll do some bending in the warehouse, but like here it goes, bends in 358.24, bends, how made. Sometimes the English in these things drive me insane.
It's a little hard.
Bends, how made. So it says, bends shall be made so that the tubing is not damaged and the internal diameter of the tubing is not effectively reduced. The radius of the curve in any field bend to the center line of the tubing shall not be less than shown in Table 2, Chapter 9, for one shot and full shoe benders. So we have our benders come standard. You buy them. They have the radius built in what's required by the size by the table.
Yeah.
But how many times have you seen a bend on a wall where it's kinked or it's got a ripple in it?
Yeah.
It's against National Electric Code.
Yep.
And
because it made the inside of diameter of that conduit smaller.
Right, which
Fucking
goes
rebend it.
Right, yeah, just take it
Fix
down and
it.
redo it again, right?
Throw that away. We've all had a boneyard before.
And if you don't have a bender, just call an electrician. Don't go to Ace Hardware and buy all the factory 90s. How many times do I go someplace and I see a factory, like a homeowner did factory 90s, and then he used those fucking straight 90s with the conduit where the cap comes off and it's like a square.
Yeah.
So it's like square, square, square because it's faster. It looks cleaner.
I'll let you know. It wasn't the homeowner that did that. It was the residential electrician.
Right? Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes those guys, I mean, anybody's subject to do something stupid because they don't know.
Facts.
It also says, so like some of the things that we do as best practice, and there are things that are here that are guided by the NEC, and then there are contradictory statements other places in the NEC, depending on the type of installation and the location. Like it says grounding, EMT shall be permitted as an equipment grounding conductor.
Oh, yeah.
Depends on what system and where, and there's a lot of different factors in that statement, right?
Right.
So you think about certain things. We want to make sure that when you're talking about a product, any type of product that we're using to go from point A to point B for electrical, the rules are clear. They're in the code.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do another one next week. We'll talk about metal clad cable. Yeah. Otherwise known as the MC from the MC Bandit, right?
Yep.
Maybe we get into liquid tie or rigid, rigid, and maybe we'll look at some of the differences there. So hope it wasn't too boring.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.